Hello Year 4, it's me, Miss Reed, and today in maths we are doing about perimeter. We are going to be calculating the perimeter of a rectangle. Perimeter is the distance all the way around the outside of a 2D shape, so a flat object. So imagine you took a piece of string and you wrapped it all around the edge of an object. You would then measure the piece of string. So you're not measuring anything in the middle, just the length of the edges all added together. That's what perimeter is, the length of the edges all added together. Let's learn a bit more about it. So find the perimeter of the rectangle. Because it's a rectangle, as we know, they are parallel, which means that this side will equal the same as this side, and the length of this side will equal the same as this side, which means we also know that the corners of each of these are right angles. But that's not important at this time. So what we need to do to find the perimeter is add together the length of each of those sides. So that means we've got 6, add 6, which makes 12. And we've got 7, add 7 centimetres, which makes, 7 add 7, that's 14, that's 7 times 2. So if you want to use your times tables, that will make this whole lesson a lot easier. So knowing your times tables will make it a lot quicker, which means added all together, 4 add 2 is 6, and 1 add 1 is 2. So our answer should be 26 centimetres. We need to remember to put the units on as these ones are in centimetres. Sometimes when we're doing perimeter, it will be in metres or in millimetres, depending on the size of the shape you're measuring. The ones on here obviously aren't to scale, so don't get your rulers out. That's not going to help you. Literally use your maths to add them together, and that will give you your total, your perimeter. 7 add 7 add 6 add 6 equals 26 centimetres. Woo! We did great. Choose two measurements which will make a rectangle with a perimeter of 24 centimetres. So let's draw out our imaginary rectangle here. Okay, so it's only letting us have two measurements. So as before, we used the red for one set of sides and the blue for one set of sides. So that number will be doubled. So whatever number you choose, so let's try A as an example here, so 10 centimetres. If I say that this is 10, then that means this one on the other side is 10 as well. So that's already made 20 centimetres. So that 10 add that 10 is 20 centimetres, which means we now only need 4 centimetres. So this one should be pretty easy. Which of these three numbers times 2 is going to make 4? I'm leaving a pause because I'm assuming you're just checking your answers, but you're absolutely right. It is C2 times 2 equals 4, which means that we've got 20, add the 4 there, that equals our that equals our 24 centimetres, which is the perimeter of the whole shape going around the edge. Now I'm just going to point out some things. We might have got confused a little bit here, looking at these different bits and bobs. I know that when I first read this question, that A and D really stood out to me, because I went in my head, well, I know 10 add 14 makes 24. But we need to remember that when doing perimeter, if it's asking for those two measurements, each of them will be times by 2, because you've got them as parallels across the shape using your symmetry skills. Okay, so that one was trying to trick you out. You've all managed to get that one right, no doubt due to my amazing help. Let's try the next question. Choose two measurements which will make a rectangle with a perimeter of 24 centimetres. 10 add 10 add 2 add 2 equals 24. So we got one absolutely right. Wonderful. The perimeter of this rectangle is 38 centimetres. 38 centimetres. Always like to write down the question. 38. Calculate the missing sides. Now again, we know that each opposite side is going to be the same amount, which means this is going to be 12 centimetres. And I know that 12 times 2 is what? It's 24, Miss Reed. You're absolutely right, Miss Reed. Wow. which means that I can do a little bit of maths to help me work out what this add this equals. So it's not going to work out what each of them equals, it's going to work out what's sort of left. So if I do 38 take away 24, I know that that's 4, I know that that's 1, then I know that this number that I've just created divided by 2 split in half is going to be the answer here. Now the quickest way for me to work that out, because we're doing 2's, is to do my 2 times tables until I get to it. 14 is a really small number. Some of you are going, oh Miss Marie, it's really obvious what the answer is. This is a nice way to check if you're unsure. So 2 times tables: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I've got to 14. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which means that each of these sides is 7 centimeters long each. Okay. This one says calculate the missing sides, so you didn't need to work out how much was left over, you need to work out which each individual side is. This 12 was the easiest to do because it's parallel, but then you need to use the information it had given you about the perimeter and subtracted the rest to work out the rest. Well done, and thank you for working along with me there. We got it right. Oh yeah. Okay, match the rectangle to the correct perimeter. Now this one you can of course work them out in any order. The colours of the shapes mean absolutely nothing, they're just to make them look pretty. Again, the lengths are not to scale, but we know that the opposing sides will be worth the same amount. So this last one, I'm doing C now, that's 10 on that side, which means on this side it will be 10 again. And this one is 4, so it's going to be 4. This one is 11, so it's going to be 11. You are getting the idea. I'm sure that some of you are going, working these out whilst I'm rambling on. Keep working them out, see what answer you come to, and I will do some magic and I will come back and answer with you in a second. Basically, this question is just asking you to work out the perimeter of the shape. All of these you can do with your number bonds. Basically, you're doing your 2 times tables for each of them. Good luck. I'll see you in a second. Alright, so we've got A, B and C split into those boxes at the bottom. I know that B is 20 centimetres all the way along the perimeter because I know that 6 add 4 makes 10, and then it's 2 times 6 add 4, so that's 20. Quick, quick, quick. C I know is 26 because I know 3 times 2 is 6. 10 times 2 is 20, 26, nice and quick, which means the leftover one, A, is going to be 38 because that's the only one left over, but we can double check that. 11 times 2 is 22, 8 times 2 is 16, and then we smush them together, we get 38. Alright, so you can do that either in your head or written down, whatever is quicker and easier for you. Great job. Ta-da, we did it, well done. Okay, Zoe is having a bit of a conundrum here. Zoe has drawn a rectangle with a perimeter of 40 centimetres. That's all the way around for her homework. But a splodge of jam, apparently this is jam, we're not going to question it, it looks more like marmalade to me. It looks gross, that's for sure, has covered the dimensions of each side. Okay, so dimensions is just a fancy word for length there. It's not trying to confuse you, it's just saying length, it's just saying it in a pretty way. The dimensions, the measurements, the length. Okay, so the splodge jam has covered the length of each side, which means it's hard for Zoe to work out. Now, we need to work out what the dimensions of each side could be, and we know that the perimeter is 40 centimetres all the way around. Okay, so that's all of that added up, so we need to break it down to see what each side means. Now, it's not a square, so we can't just go 10, 10, 10, 10. We need to balance those numbers, so one is bigger, one is shorter, so that it makes a rectangle, essentially. Remember, each of those numbers you are going to times by 2, so you'll need to half whatever you've had. So break it down whatever way you like, but it needs to be one is longer than the other. By one is longer than the other, I mean, let me go with this in a blue pen. One of these sides will be longer than the other, and because they are equal, remember that means on the opposite side, these ones will match. They'll have the same number as the opposing side. So make sure you don't get too big a number. So you can't just go 20, 20. It's going to be 10 to 10, but that's a square, so we can't do that. Okay? Have a go, have a fiddle. There's more than one answer for this one, so it could be a number of things. Let's see what the slides show us. So here's some possible answers. 15 add 15, add 5, add 5. Or 8 add 8, add 12, add 12. Lovely. You might have got 14 add 14, add 6, add 6. Or 13 add 13, add 7, add 7, etc. You can go on and on there. All right, brilliant job. Well done. Let's have a look at the next one. Okay, this one's a bit more complicated. This wall is made up of bricks. You might be able to see on your screen they've got divided yellow blocks by thicker yellow lines. Each brick has a length of 10 centimetres, that one's been labelled for us, and a total perimeter of 38 centimetres. Right, so that total perimeter of 38 is just for the brick, not for the whole wall. It's asking us to calculate the perimeter of the whole wall, but we've only got the information for the brick so far. So if I'm thinking about the perimeter of the whole wall, I can already see that each of these bricks is going to be 10. So that is going to be 10 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 times 4. And that's going to be the length of that side, which will be the same on this side. But we need to work out this lovely side down here and what that's going to add up to. And we can only do that by working out what this lovely red bit here is, because then we can times that by 3. I'm writing that sideways, I know that's not very helpful. So the way we're going to do that is the same as we did one of our earlier questions. We're going to start with that 38 that we've got as the total perimeter. And then we're going to take away the 10 and the 10, which makes 20. So we're going to have there, we've got, I made a boo-boo, sorry guys. 8 take away 0 equals 8, 3 take away 2 equals 1. So we've got the number 18, which means I can do my 2 times tables again to get up to sort of see when I get to 18 what that would be if I split it in half. You could just do your sharing circles if you want to, draw 2 circles and share the 18 between it, or your division like you've been practicing, but it's just as quick to go up in your 2s, so I'm going to check my answer that way. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I know that's my 9 times tables. So that divided by 2 equals 9. Okay, so those sides are 9 centimetres each. So this sideways operation is now 9 times 3. 9 times 3 is, and I'm going to do my 9 times table trick, which I use. I know it is 27. Okay, so the length of this side is 27. And I know that 10 times 4 that I've got down here is going to be 40 centimetres. Which means to work out the perimeter of the whole wall, I will need to double that on its opposite side. So let me just redraw you these. You've got your that one there and your that one there. You need to do 27 add 27, add 40, add 40 to have the whole perimeter of the wall. Okay, we'll see what the answer is on the next slide. So if you want to finish working that one out, you can do, and then join me on the next one. There you go, 40 add 40, add 27 and 27 equals 134 centimetres. So it's 134 centimetres there altogether. So it's just a bit of addition. You can stack those up, of course. If you find it easier, I quite like to add the 40 and the 40 and then add the 27 and then 27. And that way you've only got to add 2 numbers and it's just a bit quicker. But it's completely up to you, whatever is easier for you. I just know that my 2 times tables are better in my head. Well done. Let's try the next one. John. Here's John. He's a stand-up lad. Looks like he's on crutches. I hope he's okay. If a rectangle has sides which are all even numbers, oh, that looks important, the perimeter will be an odd number. All right, so we know our even and our odd numbers. We've got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 are our odd numbers, and then we've got 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8 as our even numbers. Okay, so what John is saying, and we need to prove it here, he's asked us to prove it, which means we need to be using a because, and we need to show evidence, which means we need to show our working out here. You really need to prove it. So we need to look at a rectangle that has sides which are all even numbers. Sorry, that rectangle looks like a sausage. I'm doing my best, I apologise. I'm going to go for a nice small number that's going to make this easy. So an even number, my even numbers are in blue. So I'm going to choose a 2 as this shorter side. They're going to be 2 centimetres each. My longer side, I'm going to go 4 because it's going to be longer, so it can't be smaller. 4. Okay, so that's how I'm going to prove it. By working out the perimeter of that shape, so adding all of those numbers together, I can see if John is correct. Will the perimeter be an odd number? Will it not? But you should do it with more than one shape really to prove it once and for all. But since he just says it will be an odd number, if you prove him wrong even once, then you've proved him wrong overall. Does that make sense? So work it out, see if it's right or not, and then write your answer as a full sentence, please. So John is correct, John is incorrect, or he is wrong because are both perfect answers, and then you explain and show your working afterwards. Okay, I'm excited to see it all done. Let's see what the answer to this question is. John is not correct. Oh, poor John. He put his words out there and he made a mistake, but you know, he's going to learn from it because we're going to help him. John is not correct because adding 4 even numbers will always make an even total. That's very interesting. It's got an example there. For example, 4 centimeters add 4 centimeters add 6 centimeters add, I assume it says 6 centimeters, is going to add together to make 20 centimeters. So we know that that's an even number. It's got a 0 at the end, so it's an even number. You can prove it, and you might have proved it with a different calculation. You might have used my calculation. All of those would have proven it. As long as you've explained your addition or shown your working, you will have proven John wrong with your answer. Okay, really good job. Well done, everyone. You have been calculating the perimeter of a rectangle today. You should be fine to work on this on your own. Just remember, the perimeter is the distance all the way out around the outside of a 2D shape, and that the sides sort of equal each other. So whatever it says on one side, you need to make sure you've doubled it to do on the other side. Splitting it down works the same way. All right, really excited to see how you do today. Have a lovely day of learning. See you later.